Good to go. All right, let's get started. This is the breakout session called Workplace in Motion. I think everybody knows Bill French, but in case you don't, Bill's the Director of Safety Services for Core Safety Group in Dallas. He provides leadership for department operations and developing business strategies within the company. He's a multi-degreed safety professional with over 14 years of experience in safety management that includes loss control, risk management, program development and implementation, accident investigation and training. He's participated in a variety of construction projects, including large corporate campuses, healthcare, higher education, hospitality, and aviation. He is an active member in the ASSP, the Associated General Contractors, and the Board of Certified Safety Professionals. Ladies and gentlemen, Bill French.
Hey. So, that's right. As Scott said, I am Bill French. So thank you all for coming to this one. Appreciate it. So I saw this the other day, and it is just after lunch, and I'm sure we've all kind of been talked out, so you get to hear me for another time. This I thought was interesting. This is a good career Venn diagram. All right, and if you can't take a joke, turn your ears off. But, all right, so we've got some skills on the board, right? So first, if you have math skills and problem-solving skills, what do you think you're probably going to be? Definitely an engineer, says the engineer. So, now, what if you have math skills and you're a little bit OCD, like everything's got to be just the right way, like... Say it again? Architect?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would work too. This is accountant. You got some math skills, but architect would be very well. Yeah, that fit right in there. You gotta have it just their way, right? What about problem solving and people skills? You're gonna need management, right? You got some people skills, you like solving problems, putting puzzles together. All right, how about you're a little bit OCD, but you're kind of heartless? Definitely HR. You do. Exactly. All right, so what about if you got some people skills and you got some drinking skills? Definitely marketing and sales. All day, yeah. So, and then what if you're kind of heartless and you also have some drinking skills? Superintendent. That's awesome. Any superintendents in the room? Can you attest to that? You could be a lawyer. Yeah, probably. Now, what happens if you put all of them together? You're a safety guy. We got to dabble in everything, right? We got some decent math skills, problem-solving skills. Some of us have, people skills when we need them. We can also be heartless if we have to. So, I think Jamie, you can take a picture of this. So that's just to get you laughing. All right. So everybody on your feet. We are going to do some stretching and flexing. All right, and we'll get into it in a little bit. But this is why I like that in stretching. So first, we're going to do some arm raises. Everybody arms to the side and just raise them up. And if you need to take the coat off, or you should take the coat off, right ahead. So, yeah, that works as well. We used to do this on our job site. We would have about 1,200 people, and our superintendent, we'd have some mics, like there's some speakers like this. Our superintendent loved to play the safety dance song. All right, so now we're going to do, let's see, it's crisscrossing your arms, just back and forth, getting the blood flowing. Hopefully this will, pique your attention, get you to pay attention to what I'm about to talk about. All right, now we're going to do little circles. All right, now go the other direction. Now obviously you can make this longer for your skill level. Now go the other direction. All right, now we're going to do some bigger circles. Oh, right. Yeah, you gotta watch it. Yeah, that happens a lot when big circles happen. Especially on the job site, you get all those people next to each other, big circles happen, it's ba-bam, ba-bam, ba-bam. All right, go the other way. All right. All right. So next we're going to do, let's see, wrist circles. Some of you like to call this the riding a motorcycle. All in your wrist. Anybody do sports? Does anybody else warm up before sports? You just go hit the first tee without warming up? No. All right. Exactly. Next we'll do, this is a favorite of mine because of my hobby. We'll do trunk twist. So you just hold your arms out to the side and just twist. All right. Just kind of don't sway. Just twist around your spine. There's no reason to go super duper fast. Just give them those muscles down the spinal column. Give them some blood flow. Because we've all been sitting for a very long time as well. All right. Let's see. Side bends. All right. So hands on the side and just reach down and kind of touch the side of your knee. Just go back and forth.
This looks familiar.
because we did it for like 360 days or more? Nope. All right. All right, enough of those. And let's see, we've got, so I call it cross march. You're just gonna raise your knee up, cross your hands, and then this way. So it's kind of like high knees, cross march. Again, getting the hips moving, getting some blood to them, getting the legs warmed up.
Is this what you're going to do in your band?
I wasn't banned, actually. Thank you for bringing that up. I played the trumpet. Yep, I was a trumpeter. All right. Enough of those. If you can't do these, maybe you should do this routine more often so that you will get to a point. But next we're going to do some toe touches. So just hang down, touch your toe, and come right back up.
And how many Christians? Yeah.
If you can't touch your toes, then you should probably do more of this to increase your flexibility. I heard a good, oh my God. All right. Next is a little lower back stretch. Hands back on the hips and just rock forward and then just back up. You don't want to stretch or stress yourself beyond your natural flexibility until you gain more flexibility. All right. We're going to skip jumping jacks because I don't want anybody to smack each other. Last thing, we'll do some neck rolls. I'm going to switch last to last. Neck rolls. Now you can go take your chin from here to this shoulder to that shoulder. There's no reason to go all the way around. Just back and forth. All right, and then lastly, squats. We'll do 3. Typically we do 10 as a group. So hands straight out and then squat. Heard some good knees popping, by the way. That was good. All right. So, hopefully everybody's a little bit warm. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for appeasing me. Huh? Everybody feel good a little bit? Everyone's been sitting. Everyone had lunch. Chicken parm was delicious. So, presentation is called Workplace in Motion. So one of my questions is, are construction workers athletes? So you see a semblance here, right? You got the rock climber versus the guy who's climbing a rebar cage. You've got the strong man floating logs over his shoulders, moving, pushing, pulling, carrying, twisting. You've got these guys. So when we look at our workforce, think of them as a construction athlete. You know, they are putting themselves in harm's way all the time. And what do? Do they show up? Do they stretch and flex? Some of you, I know your company's programs, and they do. What happens to most of them? They show up, they've had very little sleep, they get out of the truck, and they go right to work. You would never see an athlete who performs at the highest level show up to their field of play and just walk on the field and go for it. They're going to warm up, they're going to get moving. So, talk briefly about ergonomics. Ergonomics is the study of work and relationship of work to the physical and cognitive capabilities of people. Fitting the job, so whether it's a tool, the task, and the environment, to the employee instead of forcing the worker to fit the job. Now, I always I love talking about ergonomics in construction because it's one of those things where if you ask somebody, that doesn't exist. Ergonomics in construction doesn't exist. Well, it does if you try. And I will say construction is a very hard industry to fit ergonomics into because our work environments are extremely dynamic. However, when we have an opportunity to control the environment, we should. So, ergonomic principles derive from many areas, including biometrics, physiology, anthropometry, there you go, went to Oklahoma, industrial engineering, and safety. 2 classifications of ergonomic injuries. We have cumulative trauma injuries, or CTDs. These are exposure driven. So these are things like carpal tunnel, things that take a long time to develop. Then we also have strains and sprains. These are instantaneous, these are event driven. CTDs, like I said, injured soft tissue, whether it's typically developed in small body segments like your fingers, your wrist, your knees, shoulders, back, things of that nature. Examples of CTDs, tendonitis, tendon disorders, nerve disorders, and then, let's see, neurovascular disorders. So anybody ever heard of Renault or white finger syndrome? So what is that typically caused by?
Vibration.
Vibration, thank you. Yeah, so if you're someone who you use a vibrating tool all day for 10, 12 hours a day, and that's your daily task every day for 5, 6 days a week, all of a sudden you may start to see the tips of that person's fingers are white. It is that vibration is damaging the nerves in their fingers, and it's killing the nerves in their fingers. So, how do we prevent that? Well, there's some steps. Strength and sprains, obviously, like I said, these are event-driven. These are instantaneous injuries, some sort of injury to connective tissue caused by a single forceful event, lifting a heavy object in an awkward position, something striking you, or slipping and falling, commonly associated with a large body part segment like your leg, your back, something like that. Risk of injury increases with presence of multiple risk factors: age, your overall general health. So, you might know what WMSD stands for. It's not,
Workplace musculoskeletal disorders.
thank you for paying attention to reading the slide. So, exactly. Now, it's hard to see, it's really tiny, but I'm gonna do my best. So, we've got different trades and occupations right here. Then we have different tasks, we have different exposures. So we've got carpenters, masons, electricians, sheet metal workers, roofers, all the way down iron workers, plumbers, pipe fitters. So, talks about their tasks, talks about their hazards, talks about body parts affected. But it's interesting, again, it's tiny, but I know what it says. The last bullet point as a physical control measure on every single trade is a stretch flex program. So, stretching is important. I think a lot of us have tried to incorporate that into our programs. Some crews are a lot better at it than others. So obviously the benefits of stretching, it increases flexibility and elasticity of muscles. I was on a project, so anybody driven down 121 and seen the Toyota headquarters?
Yep.
It's kind of hard to miss, right? So I was on that project with the general contractor, and this was something that we pushed. So we would have a site-wide safety meeting once a week, and we would stretch as an entire site. It's pretty fun if you actually see, 1,000 workers all lined up and we're all stretching. Right. It also helped that we were a little bit influenced by the Toyota way. It is Toyota.
Man, I did that too with Cowboy Stadium as well.
And it's a really inspiring thing when you see that many people all doing it together. So we try to use that opportunity to not only do it as a team, but then we're teaching those crews. We talked about earlier teaching safety, right? Teaching them that routine so that the other, 4 or 5 days a week, when we didn't do it as an entire site, we want you guys to go do this every morning. Do this stretch and flex routine. Get warmed up. So it increases circulation to warm up the muscles, improving mental alertness. Kind of like I said, hopefully we're a little bit more awake after we stretch. And then reducing fatigue. Decreases mental tension and stress. So when to stretch? When do you guys want to see your crew stretch?
I want to say that you want to do that all through the year, but especially in the winter time because of the cold and your muscles are tight. So
Sure.
it's really important to do it during the winter months.
I agree, yeah, especially when you're, like you said, when you're waking up, you're cold, your muscles just don't have that blood flow to them yet. Prior to starting your day, do it during short breaks. If all of a sudden they've been fairly inactive for about an hour or so, take 5 minutes. You don't have to do the entire routine. Just do maybe a brief version and get warmed back up. After breaks for lunch to prevent fatigue, if tension or stress is apparent, all of a sudden stop. I was running in a half marathon once and I kind of got a kick out of it. We were 1 mile in. You can tell the people who took this seriously. 1 mile in and there's that line of people on the side stretching. I'm like, whoa, you got a long way to go.
Yeah.
So
What about right before performing a strenuous task?
right before performing strenuous tasks,
Of doing it then as opposed to, you start the day at 7,
right?
and you don't do anything until 10:30 or 11.
Mm-hmm.
Any physical exertion.
Yeah, so that would totally go into like during the short breaks, like you started your day, you did your stretch flex routine, and now you've just been walking around the site. You haven't picked up anything, you haven't pushed, you haven't pulled, you haven't been in an awkward position. Yeah, you stretched 2 hours ago, but then after that stretch, you didn't really go do any physical activity. So yeah, that'd be a perfect opportunity to stretch again, because now you're actually about to do the physical activity that you warmed up for 3 hours ago that you didn't do yet. So, exactly. And I do want you guys to talk. I'll tell you, me and Tim were talking about this. We're the only 2 breakout sessions today, and a safety person giving a safety presentation to safety people is the epitome of preaching to the choir. So, raise your hand if I've told you anything you've never heard before. Yeah. So, now this is something that Matt Clark and I like to get into. We are on the same page. So, static stretching versus dynamic stretching. A lot of us, when we were in elementary school, maybe PE, our coach would have to stretch, right? And a lot of times it was, get into a stretching posture position and hold that stretch, right? And what do we count to? Count to 10, right? Touch your toes, count to 10. Do this, count to 10. Hold this, count to 10. So that is static stretching. And static stretching is really good as a cool down after the muscles have already had all that blood flowing through them. But to warm up your muscles, I genuinely advocate for more of a dynamic stretch. The movement to get the muscles, or to get the blood flowing to the muscles. So it's kind of like a rubber band. So I want to stretch that rubber band out and get it warmed up. I don't want to stretch it and hold it. I want to get it warmed up. Same thing with your muscles. So the goal of these stretches is to release tension, making the muscles more pliable and less susceptible to pulling strings. Dynamic stretching, the goal is to prime the body for action. That makes sense? So we're all safe people. A lot of us are safe people. How many of you guys do a lot of training? Do you know your trainer tick? What I mean by that is I've got one of my best trainers. His tick is he will say the word right. So let's say we're talking about fall protection. He's like, so Gardo's got to be 42 inches tall, right? And he's looking for some affirmation from the crowd. My trainer tick is, does that make sense? Does that make sense? There's some nods. All right. So that's my sense of, because if I get very few nods, we're just going to say it again and then again. And hopefully, one of the times I say it a different way, I'll be like, oh yeah, it makes sense. So static stretching. Research has found that while static stretching can provide recovery benefits, when performed at the end of a workout, it can hamper performance if performed at the beginning. So that's because it relaxes muscles, sapping strength while reducing blood flow and decreasing central nervous system activity. Dynamic stretching, active warm-up exercises. A lot of times we used to do, like when we do the high knee skipping, crisscross, sideways, all that active dynamic movement, especially those involved with dynamic stretching, they have the opposite effect. They boost blood flow.
Pardon me, I'm sorry to interrupt. Can I replace your batteries in that microphone?
Yeah, go for it. Now I just got to talk loud.
I'm going to go back 3 slides.
Boosting blood flow, activating the central nervous system, enhancing strength, power, and range of motion. As a result, they offer a host of both immediate and long-term benefits. On the project where we would have, like I said, about 1,000 people doing this, you would actually see people increase their flexibility. Like at the beginning, they couldn't hardly bend down and touch their toes. And they got to a point where this is easy. It's like, yes, this is why people do yoga on a regular basis. When they first start doing yoga, trust me, they can't reach a lot of them use them to block. They can't reach the positions they want to reach. They can't hold them for as long as they hold them. But then all of a sudden, you build up the strength and endurance to do so. Stretch and flex. This is our stretching routine. So this is my dynamic routine. This is available. If anybody wants it, I'll send it to you. That is yours truly. So I didn't make these up. I've actually done them myself. And if you don't like those, you can go out on the line. And if you search dynamic stretching routine, you're going to find about 1,000 of them. So one of those things that we all talk about a lot is worker wellness programs. How many of your companies have a worker wellness program? Do you think it's effective? I like how the vice president of safety is just, no, it's not. Why is it ineffective?
Probably don't have enough people doing any of that stuff, but it is effective.
So what are some of the aspects of your wellness program?
Reimbursement for fitness spans.
Yeah.
Part of it. There are, we require physicals at certain ages. If you hit certain levels, you'll get like a financial check before Christmas.
You said certain levels of what?
Like you check whether you're a tobacco user, yes or no. It looks like your cholesterol levels, BMI, but it's like rudimentary BMI.
Yeah, so that kind of goes into those biometric screenings. If your results are very positive on those biometric screenings, you're incentivizing those people to maintain that. So I do encourage that. There's many times where we've done on-site biometric screenings, and we have guys that, obviously we are a male-dominated industry, but there's plenty of times where, how often do guys go to the doctor? Women are, obviously we know that they're the smarter species. They go to the doctor a lot more often than we do, but we've got guys, they have no idea that they have blood pressure issues, cholesterol issues. Most of them probably are aware that some of them are overweight, but they just don't know. So I've had guys discover in their late 40s that I had no idea I was diabetic. So that's going to make a huge factor in their body. So I think the biometric screening is very important. And if not, encourage and try to incentivize those people to go to their physician on their own, get an annual fitness or an annual physical, and make sure that they're being aware of what's going on in their own body. Encourage those annual physicals. Health incentives, obviously, tobacco cessation. I am a poster child for not that. So I encourage it, but I understand that we have plenty of tobacco users. But for those who, any cigarette smokers, that's bad. Cigarette smoking stopped being cool in the 80s, man. So, now if you smoke cigars, we can hang out, which is also not great for you, I've heard. And then weight loss. Try to maintain, I encourage everybody to maintain a good, healthy weight. Some of the ergonomic solutions, we talked about Renault syndrome, the white-tipped fingers. So they've got plenty of tools that are actually built to reduce vibration. So they also have anti-vibration gloves. So if you've got a tool that's supposed to vibrate less, you're wearing gloves that's supposed to help absorb those vibrations. If you're someone who your job is going to require that all the time, those are good things to have in place to help avoid damaging their nerves. Now, obviously we talk about the hierarchy of controls. What's another good aspect to help that person's exposure?
Reduce.
Exactly, rotation. Don't have them do it every day, all day. So understand and identify that task puts them at risk for a cumulative trauma disorder. So how do we control that? You're only going to do it a few times a week. You're only going to do it for a couple hours a day, not 8, 10, 12 hours a day, every day. Vacuum lifters for glass, any sort of sheet material, whether that's drywall, whatever the case may be, this helps keep people from having to lift and push and pull and carry heavy objects. So we've got vacuum lifters or suction cup lifters as well. Obviously power tools versus manual. If you can introduce a power tool and now all of a sudden the person, so you give somebody a chipping hammer or a sledgehammer. Which one's the more ergonomical option? The chipping hammer. So now he's not sitting there swinging the sledgehammer trying to bust concrete all day with a manual sledgehammer. He's got a chipping hammer. He's got a power tool, whether it's pneumatic, gas-driven, electric, whatever it is. Keeping things mobile, I think, is a very ergonomic thing. So on wheels, how many of you guys have this as part of your everyday practice? Keeping things on carts, on racks, on pallets, so that all of a sudden, if you need something moved, you're able to move it right there, it's on wheels. Versus having to manually, if it's sitting on the floor, having to pick it up, carry it, whatever the case may be. Obviously, I want to encourage the use of dollies, pallet jacks, hand trucks, whatever you want to call them, versus manually lifting and carrying things. Anybody ever heard, there's a few ways that it's applied. I like to apply it to material handling and kind of as an ergonomic solution. But has anybody ever heard the phrase, only handle it once? Or Ohio, right? So what happens if you get a load of pipe delivered to the job site, it's a month early, and they're not even ready for it. It gets put somewhere, right? You move it 15 times. Say that again. We're going to stage it here, and then here, and then here, and it's been staged 15 times. What is it every time that has to be moved? It's a risk. So what happens on the 10th, 12th, 13th time when someone's moving it and they get hurt, and all of a sudden we're sitting in a root cause analysis and we're like, so what was he doing was move this material? Let's dive deep. Was that material even needed yet? No, we don't need it for another 3 months. Why is it here? Because they were ready for it, and PM's fussing about the cost of stored material, and yada yada yada. So if you only have to handle it once, it shows up just in time delivery, it shows up on site, it gets dropped off close to where it's actually going to be installed, it gets put in, and now you're not sitting there exposing people to moving it over and over and over and over again. Now, does that always work? No, but that goes back to having it on a pallet, have it on wheels. If you know that you're going to have to restage it over and over again, make the moving of it a lot more ergonomic. Use forklifts, use hand trucks, use pallet jacks. So, we talked about work rotation. Prefab when possible. Obviously, we've got some folks from TD in here. They are a master at that. I've been to their facility in Richardson. They do a lot of prefab. So if you can make whatever it is, whether it's in wall, above ceiling, whatever the case may be, if you can make that in a more controlled environment and fabricated, a fab shop, and then ship it out to the job site, now those people aren't trying to put those small parts and pieces together in awkward environments. It just shows up and gets installed. Does that make sense? All right.
Something to keep in mind with prefab is it also increases your need for all the other control. When you're handling small pieces of material, opposed to a prefab comes out at 500 pounds, opposed to 50, 10 pound parts.
Yeah.
you've got to consider that in on your mechanical moving equipment.
Exactly. Any other ergonomic solutions that you guys know of that you currently implement to try to keep your people safe? You know, we've got an example here of, it's a drill with an extension. So you see people in boom lifts, scissor lifts, whatever it is, on ladders and their arms above their ceiling trying to drill anchors. So whether you're installing screws or it's just got a drill bit on the end of it, if you install that extender, he can sit here and do it right here versus having to reach all the way to the ceiling. Or if it's something on the floor, you turn it over and just do it right here versus having to be on a knee. I was walking on a job site the other day, and a lot of this goes back to paying attention to what the environment is. How many of us have seen a chop saw to cut rebar sitting on the ground? All the time, right? When you look at the slab on grade they're preparing, how many pieces of rebar do you think they're going to have to cut? A lot, right? So it's so much rebar. There's actually, now if it's one piece of rebar, I get it. But they're going to cut a lot. Why don't we take some pallets, stack them up? Why don't we put that chop saw up here?
Just get a wet case.
Something, just get it up here versus now you got a guy on a knee, on the ground, awkward position, over and over again, all day cutting rebar. So let's set that up. Who's in here, any drywallers? Former drywall? So, drywallers are great. They know that they're gonna have to cut studs, they're gonna cut studs all day, every day, right? They'll even take studs, screw themselves together in a cart, and make on wheels, and make a mobile cutting table. Great ergonomic solution. I love seeing that. And a lot of times they're really good about taking it a further step when it comes to fire protection. They'll put a little piece of wood back there to block the sparks. Get into proper lifting. Anybody? My favorite is, anybody ever seen a small child pick something up? How do they do it?
Get at the knees,
They squat. They get like right up close to it, and they squat down because it's probably twice their size anyway, and they squat. And it's like no one has ever given them a toolbox talk over how to pick up something properly. They haven't. But somehow, this small toddler understands, like, that's the best way to pick this up. That's how I'm going to get the most leverage. So it applies to adults. Adults, we get a little bit lax. We get a little bit complacent, as a word we always love using in this profession. So what do? We go over and bend down. So you're hardly ever going to see a toddler walk over and bend down and pick something up that they know is probably heavy or oversized. They're going to squat. It's great. So who in here has a weight limit? So what are some of the weight limits you guys use to protect your people? 50, 80?
75.
75? Can I get 100 now? Okay. So 50 is real common, I think. And I think it just really does depend on the trade. If you're a roofer, you basically think, okay, well, how much is a slab of shingles going to weigh? That's my physical aptitude test for my guys need to be able to pick up a thing of shingles. Or if you're a mason, can you pick up a bag of concrete, a dry bag of concrete? What's that weigh? 80 pounds, right? So, but I do encourage that. Obviously, we're not walking around with scales and weighing everything, but I do encourage people to take a minute, figure out, hey, what do we like? What are the materials that our people are going to have to pick up? Establish a weight limit and make sure everybody knows it and understands that, hey, if something's heavy, go get help. And sometimes it's not always just heavy. Sometimes it's just large, awkward, it's cumbersome. Sheet metal is one of my favorite examples of that. You get a big piece of ductwork, like you can push it all over the place. It's not very heavy. What happens if you have to pick it up? Well, there's no handles on it. It's not a very ergonomic thing to pick up and move, so you got to get some help, right? Obviously, lift as a team. Do turn with the legs, so turn and walk, don't twist, right? Use your legs, use equipment like dollies, pallet jacks, hand trucks. Don't let bulky items alone, especially here in this illustration, you can see where the guy can hardly see over the box. What's that going to lead to? He's going to trip over something. So, let's see. Don't twist when lifting. Don't use your back, and don't let heavy loads by yourself. Dehydration. So luckily, we're getting into fall weather, which is great. However, just because it gets cold outside, should we ignore hydration? No. So how many people sleep 6-8 hours a day, right? Do you wake up every hour and get a drink of water? No. So when you wake up in the morning, guess what? You're dehydrated. It's been 6, 7, 8 hours, sometimes 4 or 5, depends on who you are. Yeah. it's been that long since you've ingested any liquids. So when you wake up, you are dehydrated. And that goes for everybody. And what's the first thing you do when you wake up? Everybody goes pee. You gotta go pee. So you woke up dehydrated. You went and dehydrated yourself some more. So make sure that you advocate. And then what's one of the first things we all grab in the morning? Coffee. Or if you're me and I'm mainline monsters, it's not a good idea. But yeah, it's my favorite. So, and then I switch to coffee for the rest of the day. Yeah, I'm super hydrated. There's water in coffee, I heard. There is. So, encourage everybody to take the time, talk about that. I would really encourage doing that 5-minute toolbox talk on hydration, regardless of the month, at least once a month, encourage your woman to have that discussion with your crews and point that out. Hey, when's the last time you woke up every hour and had a drink of water? Well, why would you do that? Because you're going to wake up, you're going to be dehydrated. One thing before I forget about it, kind of goes back to some ergonomic solutions. How many of you encourage your people to wear good boots?
I do.
Okay.
On the concrete, man.
Whether you're, a lot of our workers are standing on hard surface, uneven ground, walking, they're on their feet all day, every day, right? How many of you offer some sort of reimbursement package for work boots? It's awesome. That's great because that gives those people, that takes away their excuse that they can't afford a good pair of work boots. Because good work boots, they're not cheap. When you see somebody with a $25 pair of Brazos from Walmart, you know that they're definitely cutting a corner. So go get a good pair of work boots. How many hours a week do a lot of our construction workers typically average? 50, 60, 70. All right. How many hours is there in a month? Work hours. Just give me a 40-hour work week. 160-ish, right? So crunch some rough math. The point I'm getting at is they spend more time in that pair of shoes than any other pair of shoes they own. So when you're walking a job site, you're sitting there having a casual conversation with one of your workers, look down at your feet and figure out, hey man, at the end of the day, are your hips sore? Are your feet sore? Your knees sore? Right? Do you suffer from any sort of pre-existing injuries? No? Oh, there's boots. Oh man, I've had these for like 5-6 years. Whoa, it's time for a new pair of boots. Yeah. So, they're just now broke. You know what I'm talking about. So, or get some new insoles, look into some orthotics, something of that nature. But it's kind of one of those things. Who remembers Forrest Gump? What was one of the first things Lieutenant Dan told him? Socks. OD green. Right? Take care of your feet. So, take care of your feet. Encourage the people to wear good boots. And believe it or not, it is making sure that you've got a good pair of boots that supports your knees, your legs, your hips. You're going to be on them all day. It's a good ergonomic solution. So, let's see, what happens when your body gets dehydrated? Get some dry mouth, right? Get lethargic, weakness in the muscles, might have a headache, might have dizziness. I'm not going to spend a lot of time going into every sign and symptom of every heat-related illness. Again, safety person giving safety person to safety people. You like that, don't you? So what's one heat-related illness? Just real quick. Muscle fatigue, heat stress, heat rash, obviously leading up to what's the ultimate? Heat stroke. Heat stroke is a medical emergency, right? So heat illness prevention, we talk about it all the time. Water, rest, shade. Have a plan for it. It's not that hard. Have shade stations that have water, that have a cooling fan, whatever the case may be. I was on a 4,000-acre solar farm project not too long ago, and it was really interesting. They had these, they were probably just 8-foot trailers. They had built covers on, they had a swamp cooler on one end, picnic table, water coolers. They could pull those things all around the job site. So they had a plan for where we're going to provide water, rest, shade. So genuinely look at it and make sure that it's convenient. We all know that people aren't going to walk a very far away to get some water, right? Make sure that it's close to them. Training and monitoring, again, I kind of go back to having the dehydration discussion, especially you should have that discussion at least once a month, regardless of the month. But when it comes to heat illness prevention, make sure that you're doing that early on, not just in the hottest months of the year. We talk about it a lot. Water bottles versus water jugs. Who does jugs? Nobody anymore? Nobody does jugs anymore? Well, how about pre-COVID?
Cleaning, sanitation.
But you guys have this great video about how to clean a water jug.
Yeah, we did.
I've seen someone demonstrate how to properly clean a water jug.
That's when water goes away, was when that video.
It's like, this is hard. So, yeah, I do encourage bottles. They are a lot more sanitary. They are just a lot more easy to deal with versus jugs. Electrolyte replacement. What are some of the forms of electrolyte replacement you've seen on the employed on job sites? Overtime's a good one. Squencher. Some of those low sugar options. Instead of Gatorade, obviously we know. Now, I played college football. We never had full strength Gatorade. And I don't think I ever understood why until I got into safety. Because there's a lot of sugar in it, right? So if we had a jug, unfortunately, and it was a 10-gallon jug, and that packet was supposed to make 5 gallons, well, they put that one packet in the 10-gallon jug, and then added water on top of that. It was always half-strength Gatorade. So just keep that in mind if your workers are, if they go with Gatorade versus overtime or Squencher or more of a low sugar option. What about popsicles? Now, the funnest thing is, obviously, we go on these job sites, it's a small city, it's a grind, especially in a hot time of year. One of the funnest things I've ever seen is we loaded up a cooler in the back of a Kubota, ran all around the job site, passing out popsicles. And you want to see some of the biggest, scariest, burliest looking men you've ever seen happy because they're holding a popsicle? It's great.
It works.
It works. Now, and what am I doing? I'm just trying to give you some electrolytes.
Right.
But go up to a group, whether it's plumbers, electricians, sheetrockers, iron workers, whatever the case may be, in August, and it's hot, or July, or June, whatever it is, and offer them a popsicle. You're never going to get enough. It's a great idea. I've also got a lot of...
It works until you stop giving them pop.
True, because then you come around the next day and they're like, is it popsicle time?
Then you're in trouble.
You're in trouble, so be prepared.
I just tell them the word go every other day.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Where's our popsicle today?
Right.
Well, we used to like that guy when he brought us popsicles, and I don't like it anymore.
It's 2 o'clock.
Where's my popsicle? So the other thing is kind of going back to the squenchers, and this just kind of plays into sometimes just being a good safety person. When it's a hot time of year, if you carry just some of those, obviously like a lot of us do water bottles.
Oh, yeah.
Carry those little packets that you add to the water bottle. If you have to come up on someone who's in some sort of non-compliant situation, whether it's a ladder issue, fall protection issue, you call them over, you introduce yourself, you give them one of those, and all of a sudden they like you because you gave them something and you're trying to hide it. And then it's like, okay, well, let's also talk about this. So I encourage people to carry around those little packets that they can add to their water and use it if you're trying to hydrate them, and it's also a great icebreaker. Start a conversation with it. Any other electrolyte replacement tips, tricks, anything of that nature? Cool towels, obviously we pass those around a lot. I've got a lot of utility contractors that I've seen that will keep an ice chest specifically just for cold towels. It's just ice water and towels. And when guys are getting hot, they're like, go get one of those, put it over your head, your neck, cool off, and come back to work. So we did talk about bottles, but you can do some math on your own later. So we have this to try to illustrate and educate people about if you are going to use jugs, how many do I need? How much water does it actually take to provide? So it's a situation where if you went with the recommendation of how much water you were supposed to drink at the right intervals, all the way down to 15 minutes is 8 ounces, an hour is 32 ounces, and in 4 hours you should drink a gallon of water. In each, like when it's 100, 110. So that would be the actual recommended amount for someone working outside. So what does this mean exactly? Well, if I have a 5-gallon water jug, it's going to supply 5 men for 4 hours. That's it. So when we got a water jug, how many guys you got? We got 15 guys. You got 1 jug. It's not enough. So kind of just put it into perspective, 2 hours water supply for 100 men, you need 10 jugs. 4-hour water supply for 100 men, you need 20 jugs, and a 4-hour water supply for 200 men, you need 40 jugs. So you need a lot of water bottles. I can tell you that I've visited plenty of job sites, and there's times where a Connex would be nothing but pallets of water. So, questions, comments?
You're talking about the water jugs, and I'm going to tell you why they went away, because you have to hire the labor to fill those things, tape them up, clean them on a daily basis. And then you got to pay him also to come early to do all that before work time starts at 7. That's why a lot of us went to the bottled waters, and the water jugs just kind of went to the side with some of these jobs. They still use them, but they don't use them like they used to for that reason.
I've also seen where a company supplied the large plastic 1 gallon water jugs with their company name on it, and they had a day where they brought everybody to the lunch tent, all their crew, and said, everyone gets a 1 gallon jug. Here's some duct tape. We're going to put your name on everyone's jug. We don't want to find your jug missing. Carry your water around with you. So it works out real well that way. It's like they don't have an excuse because they've got a 1 gallon jug they're carrying around with them. Wherever they're working, if it's empty, they're like, go refill it. Because they're so active and dynamic, they're moving around the job site all the time. It's like we can't put water jugs within 10 feet of everybody. So we just gave them our own little jug to carry around. Any other ergonomics or wellness tips, tricks that you guys are using at your companies? Keep people safe? Is this something that you feel like companies do a good job talking about on a regular basis with their workers? I got a yes, and a no. One of the yeses was from your company. Maybe y'all should collaborate.
I'm saying companies in general.
I know. Any questions, comments? No? Everybody ready to take a break? Check your phones? Well, I do appreciate you coming in. Go ahead.
Have y'all done anything with like the camelbacks? Or do y'all have any?
I mean, I've seen guys on, I've seen guys on job sites wear a camelback before. A lot of times, I wouldn't expect to see a craft worker who's bending, pushing, pulling, working. Where did I see it? It was superintendent.
Yeah.
So, he walks around with his iPad. You know, he's not necessarily doing hard labor. So yes, but he employed a camelback.
Yeah.
So
We piloted it on a job in Atlanta. I don't know how its relationship with the fall protection system seems to be a little problematic.
yeah, and obviously, so we're a nationwide firm. We provide people everywhere. We do encourage our folks that are up north. It's already cold up there, so we talk about heat and everything. But obviously, that's a big focus in this part of the country. But in other places, it gets severely cold. So you do have to worry about frostbite and trench foot, things of that nature. So, you know, how many of you guys have any crews right now working in where it's about to get cold, like far north?
Panhandle P66 there.
Yeah, I was just in Amarillo on Tuesday. It was quite nice up there actually, other than the wind. Yeah, I feel like I was about to get picked up and blown across the job site.
Talking about the weather, we just had a conversation this week about the weather. This time of year, it can be 40 degrees in the morning and 80 degrees in the afternoon, so they have to dress appropriately for that. Or you can have cold fronts come through the day and drop to 40.
What's like last night? I mean, yesterday at 3:30, it was sunny, it was warm, it was great. At 4:30, it was cloudy, it was cooler, it was windy. An hour later. So what do we call that? Layering, right? So yeah, if it's that transitional time of year, talk to your workers about layering. Like, hey, you know, dress for the morning, dress for the afternoon. You know, be prepared for whatever time it's going to do. What's the old phrase as far as weather in Texas? You don't like it?
Wait 5 minutes.
Wait 5 minutes, it'll change. So, what else? Any other questions, comments, collaborations? Awesome. Well, thank y'all for coming to this one. So, and you'll get to watch them later on YouTube. And if you wanted to steal this for your own presentation, because I thought it was pretty great stuff. I'm going to take a picture of this one. There you go. You can make these little ones. I did like how Brittany was like, if you're a little bit OCD, you have math. Architect would be a great one. Yeah.